back. New truck. New to me truck. If you couldn't tell, it's not glaringly obvious. It's an E-Revo 2.0 with the purple body, the color that I wanted. The only color that I could have wanted more than this one would have been the black on black. But this truck has been one of my dream vehicles for a while. And I saw one come up on Marketplace for pretty cheap, where it was cheap enough where I'm like, dude, it could be missing a motor, I just want the truck. It's got a couple problems. Initial issue to get it running right now would be to replace the servos. That's all that it needs. But being me, I wanted to dummy proof the whole thing. So I've ordered new arms just because, well, that one side, the carrier ball thing, I don't know the specific name for it, but it's stripped. It's not like stripped to the point where it just falls out, but it's stripped to the point where you can't get it tight. So I got some heavy duty arms. I'm gonna order them. I haven't ordered anything yet. Green, blue, orange, and red, because fuck you. I don't care about color coordination. I've got bearing kit, new outputs for the dog bones, got new pillow balls for the steering and the rear. The rear doesn't really need them, but the front really does. I've got oh my god, I've already forgotten. Yeah, I already have the bearing kit, hardware, full hardware kit, and new tires. I am going to get Notorious tires for the Arma because, you know, Traxxas being Traxxas. The previous owner blew this right to fucking smithereens. I got Notorious Arma tires just because they're a little bit more narrow. They're gonna put a little bit less strain on the suspension in my brain than these, because these are really wide, and I'm sure that it runs just fine, but with the narrow tire, less rolling mass, it's going to be a little bit easier on the drivetrain, and I know that these 6S ESCs are not the most reliable. But if this motor burns up, or if this ESC burns up and the motor's just fine, I'm going to take this out and put in Max 6, because I've been told that the Max 6 is really reliable, bulletproof, as long as you don't overheat it, and I'm not going to be high speed run, whatever. I'm going to be pretty easy on this truck. I'm thinking about replacing the carriers, but I'm not 100% on that just yet. I think I'm going to run the plastic ones and see how that goes. But he claimed that the motor and ESC both was a combo, that he replaced it and didn't even put a full battery pack through it, because he tried to run it with this and then burnt up the servos. So he was like, and he hasn't touched it since. But if you look, he lived on a gravel road, so it's pretty understandable that there's going to be water and grit and mud. But if you can see, rusty as all get out. Rusty, caked in dirt, all in the rear here specifically. The bottom's in pretty decent condition, and the body has just a little bit of rash on the top. It's in really good condition under all of this dirt and the mild rust. Once I replace these bearings, I'm going to clean up the outputs, refinish it all, matte black, make it all look nice and pretty again, lube up where it needs to be. I'm going to make the truck run like new, so I can experience what it's like to have it like new. And I'm not going to be rough on this truck, even though, like, other than some mild jumping, as long as I can land it in grass, I'm not gonna be too crazy with it. And whenever I break or upgrade it as I go, because that's part of this whole thing apparently. So I'm gonna run through it. Focus majority of my attention is gonna be on the bulkheads. So from here front and here back is going to be all cleaning and refinishing and re-greasing and making sure that the diffs have enough lubricant and enough oil in them. I'm just going to run it as is, see how it behaves, see if I like it, and then tune it from there, because if I don't like it, I'm not going to give up on this truck. And my co-host doesn't even know I have it yet. I bought this last week. Today is March 28th. And I'm just going to film all of these videos of me cleaning it and fixing it. Not in super crazy detail, but all the way up until the point when he sees it. I'm not going to post any of it on YouTube, so then he doesn't know that I have this truck. He has no fucking idea. So I'm going to be like, hey, if you get your, the only other Traxxas truck that I have that runs right now is my Traxxas Rustler, and it's a late 90s version. And he has a Rustler 4x4. Like, hey man, if you get your Rustler, if you get the Rustler out, I'll get my Traxxas out. I'll get my Traxxas out. And we can go bash. And then I'm gonna have a video, and the video is just gonna be him being like, what is that? Like, and I'll just be like, read the fucking label, dumbass. And in my brain, I already know how it's gonna go. It's gonna be like me overhyping the fuck out of it. I'm gonna be like, oh man, he's gonna be so surprised, and then I'm just gonna pull up with it. And I was like, what's that? Like an E-Revo, and he's like, oh, cool. And then that's all I'm gonna get out of him. But it's gonna be fun in my brain. I'm going to replace the servos as well. I forgot to mention that. I'm gonna disassemble one side, and then I'm going to put a different servo on this side, because I already have multiple of the servos that people replace one of them with, or replace the two with one. And that's the JX EcoBoost. I already have two of those in a crawler and one of my vintage trucks. So that'll be easy. So run through the parts list one more time. I got batteries, already got the servo, new arms all the way around, pillow balls, new hardware and bearings, and I'm sure there's going to be some other stuff that I forgot, but I'll throw that up on the screen. And that's about it. And then after putting probably 8-9 hours of work into this truck, just cleaning and cleaning and figuring out how the fucking body works, that should be ready to rip. And new tires. Forgot about the tires again. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fast-ish. Fast as fuck for me, considering I've driven nothing but crawlers and a lunchbox for the past 2 years. But with that being said, I hope you'll follow along, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Alright, E-Revo update. It's gonna be a short video. The entire rear assembly, suspension, everything, I took everything that I could off of the chassis except for the battery trays. Everything has been completely cleaned. I gutted the transmission, I wiped down the motor. The only thing I didn't wipe down was the ESC, because I don't trust the waterproofing. I don't want to give it any excuse to blow up, but I completely wiped this down, I'll scrub this down. I tore the transmission right to pieces. All the grease in there, it had very, very little resistance. All the bearings are still buttery smooth, but all the grease that was on the gears was completely slung off to the side and had dried out. So I scraped out as much as I could, wiped it down with some brake cleaner, scrubbed it out with some Simple Green, put it back together, re-greased it with probably not the right kind of grease, but that'll be proven to me in due time. So re-greased that, got it looking brand new. When I took the motor mount out, the pinion wasn't even fully attached. It was just sitting on there loose, so I Loctited the fuck out of that. Put that all back in there, runs really nice and smooth, and I'm sure as you get some more RPM through there, it will smoothen right out. I haven't taken the front assembly apart yet because I don't want to get parts mixed up. I have everything in bags except for this plate because all this stuff is like a mixture of front and rear. Got a couple of blown out bearings from the rear diff, like very, very dry. And this is after I rinsed it out in the water to get the grit out of there. So that bearing did not have much left. So I'm waiting on bearings, arms, and drive cups, and my pillow balls are also on the way. I have new tires, new batteries, everything that I listed in the last video is all coming. Should all be here by the 4th of April. But the entire rear assembly is sitting in bags. Like, got diff assembly, got left and right arms. I resurfaced, not resurfaced, but I just put stuff in the drill, got it cleaned off. Everything has been cleaned. For the most part, if a screw can be removed, it has been removed. Then everything else will just need a residual wipe down because there's a little bit of dirt in the bag. And then here is suspension components and the bottom skid. So the entire rear of the truck, or the entirety of the truck is right here. Yep. It wasn't hard, but it's definitely been a learning curve because the truck is a lot bigger. I've only messed really with crawlers and 2-wheel drives. The extent is I took apart an X-Max once, and that was just to change the spur gear. What I will say is that this has been a huge help with the built-in clutch. It doesn't have a clutch like a normal drill. It has like setting 1. And then what that does is with the motor resistance, once it hits a certain point, the resistance will make it cut out. But if I put it all the way on lock, so that really helps with the little screws. That has been a massive help for this entire endeavor. But once the bearings show up, I will re-grease the rear diff, put in the new metal shafts in there, reassemble all that, re-grease it, put it onto the rear, get all of that nice and pretty, whatever, and then I'll start on this, just so there's no cross-contamination, and then so my brain is, while it's fresh on this, I don't get it mixed up. And as far as this goes, it's not as bad, there's not as much dirt, but the diff is dry. Again, the grease isn't fresh. It's been slung everywhere in there except on the gears, so there's not much lubrication going on in there. If you look in these outputs, they're still rusty. Both sides are pretty rusty. And, whoa, what was that? Focus, you fucker. Really? Really? All the pillow balls are shot, and even though they're stainless, there is rust going on. So I have new pillow balls, and I'm going to lightly sand those, maybe even just with some like aluminum foil. And I'll re-Loctite all of these, make everything nice and pretty, put the new arms on, and again, none of the arms are color matching. It's just meant to be whatever color. It's not, the truck's not going to be color coordinated. Have you seen the body? Oh yeah, also we cleaned the body. Body is nice and shiny. There is some rash, but that's to be expected, especially with the battery trays. But it looks a lot better. So I'm looking forward to getting parts in and finishing this, and hopefully running it, or being able to run it hopefully before the end of next week. Because the back end, I cleaned all of this in a couple of hours, so reassembly should not be that difficult. Just gonna have to throw some silicone oil or some dry lubricant on these and in here. Be careful just to keep it away from these because these lockers have a tendency to back out. So I'm thinking about putting like Teflon tape or something on them just to add a little more resistance. But other than that, coming along just fine. Again, definitely a learning curve, but I do like how this thing's built. It's kind of weird and there's some inconvenient parts to replace, but I'm digging it. But until I get the parts in, you're probably not going to see another video after this. So with that being said, I will see you guys in the next one. Let me get out your light real quick. Alright, so the build for the E-Revo is finished, as far as I can tell. I'm going to quickly run through all the parts that I've replaced. Replaced both servos with one EcoBoost. I replaced the front output with the metal ones. All of the retaining clips for the pillow balls have been replaced. All the pillow balls have been thrown away. Servo, all of these are going to be kept as spares. This drive cup for the rear were extremely rusty and they had some wear damage. Both of the, what the fuck are they called? Turnbuckles. Both the rear turnbuckles are replaced. The front, no, this is the rear drive shaft. The rear output shaft is replaced. All of these bearings have been replaced. Every single bearing for the rear has been replaced with a new one. The cush drive. Let me show you that real quick. Let me tell you, if you want to learn something about an RC truck, you try finding the parts just by describing them. The cush drive had some wear, so I'm like, might as well replace that. I looked it up, it was like $3 for the cush drive, the actual spindle, and the drive pin. All of these bearings were shot or close to it. So there's all of that. And then for the box of goodies of what I have yet to install, got an entire hardware kit because this is my only large scale basher. Got arm in each color for each end because I didn't really feel like picking a color. Got backup outputs just in case I shatter more. And all the remaining parts and bits for the rest of the pillow balls. Got the entire Fast Eddy bearing kit, which these are always a go-to for me. And I got the upgraded rear turnbuckles because the old ones, or one of the old ones was worn out, and I know that they are prone to breaking anyways. And without further ado, let me go grab her. Now, with the batteries loaded down, I'm going to have to stiffen up the suspension just a wee bit. She's a lot cleaner. Got the, these are Arma Notorious? Or Arma, what is it? It's not the Notorious, no, it might be Notorious. The Arma Notorious 6S wheels and tires. Pre-glued, so I'm probably going to have to glue them again. Did a dual servo delete just for the one. I got a JX EcoBoost, which I was very hesitant and very skeptical, but on carpet, it turns these big ass tires just fine. So if it works, it works. The batteries I got, I think, are going to be a little bit small, so I'm probably not going to get a whole lot of runtime out of this, but that's all right. I can either buy another 2 of them if these ones work out correctly, or whatever. Either way. Motor sounds nice and healthy, very responsive. I haven't taken it up for a test drive yet because I wanted to get it on film, being all nice and pretty. Wanted to get a bunch of good pictures. If you look in the rear, you can see those brand new turnbuckles. If I flip her over, you can see she's still got some pretty good rash and a couple of little spots for the rust. But for the most part, she's nice and clean. Just noticing one of my pillow balls is coming off over here. Get back on there, you nuts. Really? Gonna be a dick about it? There we go. Oh. Got all brand new pillow balls. Again, brand new drive. All the bearings in the rear are set up. She's ready. The only thing that I'm hesitant about is this screw here is stripped out on one end. So I'm either going to send a screw through this side to this side with a nut, a nylock on it, or I'm going to take this servo out, put it on this side, because I know that this side still has some meat on it. Overall, once you get to know the truck, then you know what needs to be taken apart in order to fix something. It's a really easy truck. I mean, it's Traxxas and it's a basher, so it's like, how would that ever hold up? And then it just holds up. I know they're not known for durability, but I'm not going to be bashing it very hard. I'm pretty sure I've said that like 15 times in this short series. Oh, it's so nice to have a big cog to it. And inevitably, when I roast this spur gear, I'm going to be replacing it with a Hot Racing 54 tooth. But for now, she's doing just fine. And if I do have any form of, like, if the motor seems warmer than I want it to be, I will put a big old heat sink on it. And I'm sure you'll be seeing it a lot more. So, overall, really fun build. Really interesting. It's a very neat truck. And I look forward to coming back and talking more about it after I take it for a test drive. But it's not going to be for a while because the weather hasn't quite cleared up. Today is April 3rd. And there's going to be snow tomorrow, so I'm probably not going to be able to test drive it for a while, and I sure as fuck am not going to test drive it in the snow. So I'm not going to put all of that effort to waste. So I might go take it out on the street, just test it out on the gravel. Test it out on the driveway, just noop, 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 and just give it a little buzz, make sure that everything's locked down. Then I'll run through it again with make sure all the Loctite's still holding up. I'll get back to you. But until then, there'll be a transfer into the next section of the video. And I'll see you guys in a minute. Well, it'll be 3 seconds for you guys, but it's probably going to be a couple of days for me. But see you guys in the next clip. Oh shit.
Who's E-Revo?
Mine.
When the fuck did you get an E-Revo?
A little while ago. Told you.